Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the Manhattan Community Board 11 Executive Committee meeting. Thank you so much. My name is Nilsa Olama. I'm the Chair of Office Oversight, and we'll be starting this meeting. I'm waiting for Jessica Elliott, who is the Vice Chair of the Board, and when she comes in, she will take over and will be handed over to her. Thank you so much for being here, and we're going to go over a few ground rules before we start the meeting in its entirety. No one may speak.
Oops, sorry.
Technical difficulty. I will start again. There we go. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair, which will be me as acting for the meeting, will recognize the next person to speak. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:38 p.m. With that, we will do a roll call. I will ask our district manager, Angel Mustain, to call the roll. Angel?
Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Jose Altamirano. Present. Stephanie Arroyo. Adem Brija here. Jessica Elliott. David Giordano. Asher Rodriguez. John Green here. Nilsa Orama.
Present?
Xavier Santiago. Isaac Scott. Present. Emery Vasquez.
Present.
Jason Villanueva.
Present.
Michelle. Rosa Diaz.
Present.
It's the old list. We have four.
Thank you so much, Angel. And with that, please review your agenda. And if there is no issue with the agenda, I call for the adoption of the agenda. We also have meeting minutes. Yes, someone?
I didn't print them, they were circulated.
Okay, the meeting minutes were circulated. I hope everyone had an opportunity and the committee to review. Are there any objections to what was circulated? Hopefully we read them. If there weren't any objections, then. If there's no-
Sorry, no, sir. Just quickly, I'm here, Angel. So I just want that to be marked for the record.
Thank you, Asher. Angel, is there anyone else that may be virtual? No. Perfect. And with that, if there are no issues with the meeting minutes, we will approve the meeting minutes. Angel, do we do a motion for that? No, so then we're gonna move forward with the adoption of the committee minutes. Announcements. CB11's Land Use, Landmarks and Planning Committee and the Department of Housing Preservation and Development will host an affordable housing financing training on June 27, 2024 at 6:30. The event will be held at Museo del Barrio, 1230 Fifth Avenue, 5th Street. I'm going to just give a minute to the chair of the Land Use, Landmarks and Planning Committee to advocate for the training for all committee as well as board members to attend. Jason, would you like to say something?
Yes, and any person that has any concern as it relates to how the government finances projects, whether it's relevant to AMI, housing, set-asides, please attend, whether it's the board and or the public.
Thank you, Jason. The second announcement, CB11's Human Services Committee is planning a forum on addiction to be held fall 2024. The one-day forum aims to address the critical issues surrounding substance abuse and addiction within our community. Further details will follow as they are confirmed. We have the Chair of Human Services here, Pastor Isaac Scott. Isaac, would you like to take a minute and explain a little bit about this?
No, I think the description is pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
Everyone to, yeah. It will be in the fall. We haven't confirmed the date yet, but we do want to get to the heart of the issue as it is currently in 2024. So that is.
Thank you. Thank you, Isaac. Next. We're going into presentations and discussions. An information presentation regarding the Diversity Innovation Hub at Mount Sinai by Nefertiti Anderson and Carmen Minsal.
Carmen is on the meeting. I'm promoting her to panelist now, so she comes up.
Welcome to the CB11 executive meeting. Please feel free to start when you are ready, because we're ready to hear you.
Okay, awesome. Do I have screen sharing capabilities?
You do now.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so thank you guys so much for inviting us here this evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nefertiti Anderson, and I serve as the community lead for the Diversity Innovation Hub at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. We're here to just mainly introduce ourselves, offer ourselves as a resource to the existing subcommittees and anyone else who might be interested in working with us. So a bit of background on our mission and vision. So the Diversity Innovation Hub is a unique community-driven incubator that tackles social determinants of health-driven disparities through investing in the community with technology and design thinking, accelerating digital health equity to diversify the healthcare space, as well as creating capacity and promoting diversity in the innovation ecosystem. So our vision is really to help eliminate disparities in health and healthcare and to provide economic opportunity by creating solutions with community members through technological innovation, entrepreneurship, and design thinking. We take a thoughtful approach to addressing our mission and vision statements, mainly through entrepreneurship, fellowships, and industry leadership. So with entrepreneurship, mainly through training, programming, mentorship, networking, and capital building for our underrepresented founders. Fellowships are offered to our medical and graduate students to further their experience and immersion into the landscape of health innovation and technology. And industry leadership is exemplified by our interdisciplinary opportunities and partnerships that we offer and facilitate between health startups and communities of color. So here at the DIH, we have what's called our signature programming suite, which consists of 4 different stages. First is the Pathway program, which focuses on mainly education and training with mentorship for our initial founders and ideal startups. Pitch Day then is stage 2, where we have basically like a pitch competition where we offer 3 different prizes, each for $10,000, spanning across the categories of fem technology, community, and innovation. Then stage 3 is where the 3 winners and runners-up will advance to our further programming that's built to refine the startups and make them more marketable and packaged to hit the market. And then lastly is the personal branding initiative that really tackles unique tailor-made branding and outreach needs for each of the group's startup specific needs to make them successful beyond the DIH space. Here's a look at our winners from Pitch Day 2023 back in September of last year. And here's a look at our Scholarly Year Fellows and Summer Fellows and some of the different organizations and companies they've had a chance to complete their field work with. And then a little bit more insight into our success. So we've had over 60 Pathway graduates, 28 Pitch Day participants, 22 incubator graduates, and have given away over $155,000 invested into our social entrepreneurship and counting. We also boast over $250,000 invested into creating opportunities for our underrepresented medical students and 58 graduates of our DIH Summer and Scholarly Year Fellowship programming. So looking ahead, we have 3 main things that we're trying to focus on, but ideally specific to this group, we are looking on expanding our partnerships and connections within the community and further establishing them and being a resource for you all again. So with that in mind, we also want to share that we will be opening a physical space in the community in the beginning of 2025. It's going to be on 124th Street between Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell. And there we hope to sort of facilitate and create a space for an innovative ecosystem furthering into the Harlem community, as well as continuing to serve as like a gathering space and have a community-oriented approach to branching out and advancing our mission and vision statements. And lastly, we invite you all to follow us on social media. We're very active on our Instagram and LinkedIn pages, as well as our newly revamped website to learn more about us and potentially collaborate with us in future endeavors, as well as, continue to follow our progress. We're fairly new. We just started in 2019, so we're still kind of getting our feet wet, but we're definitely looking to partner with you all and continue the great work that we've already been doing. And with that, I would like to thank you for our time this evening and potentially open up for questions. I know we're on a tight timeline, but we are finished as of now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'll go to Nilsa for her first question.
Oh, hello, so welcome and thank you for your presentation, and you mentioned that you were gonna be at 124th and Malcolm, and Malcolm X, and I don't know, Howard Fence. Is there any thought, because that's out like on the west side, which, I mean, we are Harlem, but I'm wondering if there's gonna be anything, because the Mount Sinai hospitals here on the east side, and there's a lot of campuses over here. I'm wondering if there's a thought to a small satellite office, on the east side as well, so that there will be two locations where you can really get the word out about the great programming that you're doing.
Yeah, that's a great question. So at this time, our team is actually fully remote. So that will be our first physical space that we're looking to open. But I'm sure as long as it's successful, we'll also continue to branch into more of the East Harlem area where the main campus hospital of Mount Sinai is located.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Isaac?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, Nefertiti. Would you mind presenting again at the Human Services Committee in September?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to do that.
I'll be in touch.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Jason.
Did your service include patient care or is it just entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so the building itself will have a bunch of other patient-centered opportunities and, related to healthcare more specifically, but we are more focused on the innovation and entrepreneurship side of the healthcare space. So more like health tech, fintech, startups, sort of things like that.
Yeah, just to follow up, because as a statement, there's a concern after post-surgery with minorities and their care. And that sometimes there's scenarios that happen from a lack of care. So it's been a global question I've been asking the health and hospital. So just want to, since you're presenting on diversity, just to throw it in your purview for the future.
Yeah.
Everyone say thank you for your presentation, me too. I wanted to know, I saw when you were presenting the slides, I saw something like an international fellowship or something. Can you tell me how is it just one country or all countries can apply?
Yeah, so in the past, our students have typically gone to Uganda, where the surgical center is located, and then most recently, Sam went to Lima, Peru. I'm not sure exactly all of the different countries that are offered, but I know Mount Sinai has strong partnerships with those two countries specifically at this time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again for your presentation. There are no other hands up on the internet. Any public?
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for being here. We'll see you at Human Services in September.
Yes.
Great. We'll move along to our next item on the agenda, which is our liquor licenses. Adam?
Okay, what part of it? The ones that are coming up or what
The one will be done.
all right, I mean. I don't love this process, to be honest, because we had 50 applications and I gotta do this again. But, so we have Harlem Harbor, which tonight is the first night I'm learning of this. I think they have all their documents except. Looking through the air table, I see the letter, and I could be wrong, you can ask the applicant, but I see a letter of support, which looks like it was written by the applicant. And then there's like 3 random signatures on the bottom right. That's not really what we asked for. We asked for 3 letters of support from businesses or organizations surrounding the establishment. And those letters have to be written by them, and we gotta know where they are, because anyone could sign a paper with a name, no address, whatever, you know, we're not concerned about someone that's not gonna be directly impacted by that business signing something, so I do have a concern about the letter of support. It's as of right to stay open until 4 AM. They're asking, I believe, for 3 AM closure Monday through Saturday. That is a point of concern usually, especially with new applications. We like to, I'm not saying we haven't approved them in the past, but I know if this was in front of my committee, which they did not have the opportunity to review this, which is why I'm not happy about this that much. There would be pushback on that. I don't know where we would arrive at it, but I know that would be a point of conversation. And I'm not saying it would be an automatic, no, we'd probably ask, can you tweak those, whatever, and that's it. But the letter of support, as far as I can see, was not done correctly, but I guess if the applicant's here, they can speak to that.
Is there a representative from Harlem Harbor LLC? Please raise your hand.
Oh, there we go.
Alright.
Yes.
Okay,
Ken.
Ken, you're recognized,
Yes.
please unmute yourself.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes. What is your
Oh.
name for the record?
My name is Kingetta Ali.
Thank you, go ahead.
As far as what the gentleman was saying, we had about a day, 24-hour notice to get the letters of support. So maybe it was a misunderstanding on our behalf and through our lawyers. But we definitely got the signatures from the local businesses to my left and right. Edible Arrangements is also a restaurant nearby and a hair braiding place. We got all managers to sign, but I can also get the letters of support from them. So I think it was just about miscommunication. Maybe I didn't properly understand. And as far as the hours go, that can be adjusted. We were thinking more about 1 AM instead of 3. We were just kind of gauging it at that moment. So when we open, we can definitely change the hours of operation. I don't think that would be an issue.
Go ahead, Adam, thank you.
I mean, we do have an opportunity to vote on this at full board. I suggest we table it to new business and full board. And pending that they have the actual letters of support in, and they can amend their questionnaire and stipulation to reflect, I think 1 AM is fine. That's my opinion. And I would say for the sake of when do we meet full board? Tuesday? I'd say, I mean, usually I say by tomorrow, but to give them an opportunity, Angel, if that's okay, will you say Monday by 5 PM, have those letters of support in and we could table it to new business? Assuming they do all those things, we should vote approve it then, but that's my suggestion.
Would that be acceptable to you? As the applicant?
Yes, that's no problem because we had a short window. Monday is definitely great for me to get the letters of support from everyone.
Great, thank you so much. We'll
Thank
look
you.
forward to receiving those documents and we'll table this until full board on Tuesday next week. Thank you.
Okay, so will I receive an email with
Yes.
the Zoom meetings? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Full board?
What?
Full board.
Yeah, otherwise they're gonna be in trouble, if we don't do
What's
it.
the next applicant?
That's her, show up.
El Tepeyac.
Is it El Tepeyac? Okay, so this is a little bit different. She came, I believe, maybe 2 times for expediter, kind of. Wasn't really helping out or corresponding with her, so we told her to sap everything in. I believe you do. This air table can be wonky. Did you submit 3 letters of support? I see one from Uptown Grand Central. I don't see any other ones.
They'll have one, yeah, she asked them, but one needs to.
All right, so I mean, I'm gonna say the same thing, then, you know, in the sake of fairness, everything else I think was okay with this application as far as the committee was concerned. We just wanted the documents in. I looked at them. I mean, it's hard now because no one else is really looking at them, but same thing, I guess, if she could have the letters of support. She has one, which is fine, Uptown Grand Central, 2 more by Monday at 5 PM, and then we table it and we approve it in new business.
Great, thank you so much for being here and.
And you don't, again, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. Yeah, you're good to go. Thank you and sorry.
And yeah, full board this month will be,
Tuesday.
I know, but where?
Hunter College.
Hunter College.
But you can also get the link emailed. You don't have to come in person. Yeah. So you could email in the letters and you could also attend the meeting. I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're 100% sure you got the 2 letters in, you don't even need to be at that meeting, but if you want to be safe. Okay, thank you. All right, have a good night.
Thank you so much. All right, the next applicant is, good to go, NYC LLC doing business at Santiago's Beer Garden.
I mean, this is a renewal. I think they're missing their questionnaire. Again, renewals, you know, it's a more lenient policy, but we would request a questionnaire to actually approve it. So, I mean, the applicants here, they can speak, but I think it's pretty straightforward. If they can submit the questionnaire by Monday at 5
Yeah, I'm
p.m.
sorry, I must have missed it, but I could print it out and send it.
Well, that's fine, yeah. So same thing, table it till Tuesday, and they've been there. I'm down the block from them. They're great, so they could just get the questionnaire in. They're good to go too, all right?
Their oxtail's phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you at full board and we'll look for your documents on Monday.
All right, and then, are we on E?
Lupita Restaurant.
All right, they have nothing, I think. It's a renewal, so it's a shame. I don't know if anyone is on from that business tonight.
Is there anyone here from Lupita Restaurant Corp? Please raise your hand. All right, so you said.
It's a denial then.
Okay. I think we can go ahead and take a motion on this and move the street activity permits.
I'll make a motion to deny Lupita Restaurant Board. Second.
Motion to deny, by Adam, second by Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Oh, Asher, is that a?
Sorry, not opposed. Sorry, I support it. My bad.
Okay,
Delay.
thank you. All right, the motion carries. We'll move on to the, street activity
All right,
permits.
yeah, I'm going off Angel's notes for me. Thank you so much. Love Day, I think they came to, or they were on our agenda again. Issue with documents. I believe they still don't have any documents. And yeah, well, it would happen after full board, but is anyone here from Love Day? No?
Is the agenda different from what I have here?
I love it, the next one.
Yeah, minutes.
I don't know, it's just one double, so.
Yeah.
Oh, I look at.
You're wrong.
All right, well, I don't think they're here.
Is there anyone here from Love Day? Please raise your hand.
Okay, well, then that would be the same situation.
Which,
as Love
which
Day.
materials are they missing?
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to deny that as
Well,
well.
I think we should wait, and do them all at the end maybe for these three, unless you want to do them.
Well, the other two have documents.
Okay, then, all right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Go ahead with your motion.
Motion to deny Love Day 24.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I got you, Asher. Any abstentions? The motion carries.
Okay, and now G and H have everything, so if somebody wants to make a motion for both, they can go ahead.
Motion to approve is what you're
Yeah, they
suggesting?
have everything.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the following.
Seconded by Rosa. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. I'm have to confirm who said what.
There you go. Easy peasy. I know you have to stay to the, all the way over here. Shanika's a new member.
I'm sorry, everyone.
She's gonna have to pay her dues.
Okay, so.
She'll be, no, I'm kidding. You can go. Brian, you're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't remember, no, she's gotta stay.
I know, right?
Take the time off while you
Yeah,
can.
one for your life.
Have a good one.
Sorry.
Bye. See you soon.
Guy to beautiful guns down brushes. Oh. okay.
Seconded by, the second one was seconded by her. All right, then, sorry, I'm just trying to keep up. The next item on the agenda is our annual statement of district needs and budget process for this upcoming fiscal year. Oh, that we did six and, or sorry, back those two together. Okay. So as you know, we had established a process for district needs, that was pretty clear and robust. Since then, we've had a sort of stalling with the committee. There's not been leadership for the committee. There's, I think, not been enough participation from the delegates of our committee vice chairs, on these committees. And we've lost our process as a community board on this, which is a shame, given the level of importance that this process has. It's probably the most important thing that we do as a community board. So I think, Angel, we just wanted to talk about what the process is and come up with another solution. I know we've explored some options together, but Angel, I'll pass it over to you and discuss.
Yeah, so it comes down to, like Jess was saying, like, we have a detailed process, right? I just printed out like the last couple of pages. It's like much more robust than that. So like, we know what we're expected to do and what we're supposed to be doing. We're just not doing, right? And it's a huge problem because we just we've grounded to a halt, to like a standstill. And from the staff perspective, it's more often than not, to be fair, not always, but more often than not, pulling teeth. And even though that's a cute little, like, metaphor, it's really, really difficult. And very, very challenging and very dispiriting. To have to be chasing after people that are primarily in leadership positions. That when we begin these conversations, look to us as staff, like, here you are again, making me eat my vegetables. And it was funny and silly to me 10 years ago, but 10 years on, it's no longer silly and funny. It's just exhausting. And like Jess said, and actually Khalid mentions this all the time. There's one thing in the charter that we are required to do, and this is it. The other stuff is strongly suggested and we have the right to do, but this we're supposed to do. And the only way that this works is if people, like with anything else, if people are bought into doing it and are true believers in the process and giving it their best effort. If that's not happening, and it hasn't happened, it just does not work. And the fact is, I won't sugarcoat it, is not working. We have a couple of committees currently that are on the ball or trying really hard to be on the ball, and other committees that are just wavering, and some committees are just not doing anything at all. And it's not my intention to be pointing fingers, and I won't, but everybody knows how much they've done and how much they're actually doing. And they know how much they understand and how much more they need to understand. So they don't need a finger pointed at them. I can just say that, for example, last year, when we worked last fall, when we were compiling the statement of needs and budget request to be voted on, to be submitted, I did not work on any of the sections waiting on committees to submit their materials. And I was, of course, overruled in the end. And what ended up happening is we just copied the previous year's stuff into last year's. If we would have done it the way that I was suggesting, we would have had 6 out of 10 sections empty. With no submission, really important topics. That we had nothing to say. And it's too bad, because the way I see it, if you all are convening on a monthly basis for 10 months straight minimum, hours and hours and hours of conversation about your different topic areas, I think you'd be very motivated to say something at the end of the year from what you've learned from all those months. So to hear at the end of it, crickets, it's I don't even know what to say anymore to that. It's shocking. So we've bounced around all kinds of different ideas over the years, right? Those of you that have been here for a while have heard me present different approaches several different times. You're like, oh, you're waiting for another idea. Because I'm just trying to break through and nothing's working. And we cannot engage, right now, per the process, we're supposed to be reaching out to agencies to start coordinating district consultations. I will not do that, because I'm not gonna look unprepared and unprofessional trying to engage agencies to agree to meet with us when I have no ammunition. I'm just left out there. Like it's humiliating. If I have a real thoughtful list of questions, and if I have engaged members like that have my back or that are working with me hand in hand to approach the agencies, then we stand a chance of getting them to engage back with us. But if that's not the case, the fact is, they will not engage. They won't. The fact is that every time that you all might think another board is being treated better than us, that's true. It's true. But the reason they get treated better is because they do not allow themselves to be treated this poorly. You know, like y'all are more than capable of doing it, we're just not doing it. So put it on the table again for you all to see how committed you're gonna be to this or not. I had a conversation that, you know, I had a conversation with Stephanie, who's the current chair of the budget committee, that I summarized for Xavier and Jessica in a call, you know, a little while ago. And it's just, there just isn't a clear path forward. Like that committee has not met over the last few months, and it was supposed to have, right? There's no knocking on the door from other members on the board to ask, hey, what's going on? Why isn't this committee meeting? Nothing. And that I think I think that makes it very clear the level of engagement that the members by and large have. You know, again, in fairness, with a few exceptions. And I'm glad for those exceptions, but in the other instances, you know, it's pretty much nothing. So what we're left is, we as a staff, like, what do we do? You know, like, do we keep pestering this chair, this vice chair, that chair, or do we just throw our hands up and hope to see if the members will come up, you know, step up themselves? Or do we propose different ideas again? Like, you know what? Like this one will motivate you. Let Angel do the whole entire thing. Right? Yeah, let Angel do the whole thing. Okay. You don't want that. You don't want one person dictating the fate of a neighborhood. It's wrong, right? I have no interest in that. I was being sarcastic. But if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? Right? And if there's 10 committees and 2 committees are doing it, what about the work of the other 8? Like, what happens there? So this is not to like wrap you on the knuckles. This is a plea. Like we dropped the ball and we're refusing to pick it up. And that's bad. And you know, the nightmare scenario is, okay, maybe if we just don't want to, it's like a relationship. You know what? I'm not that into you anymore, so I'm not gonna deal with you. So if we're not interested in this, then we don't do it. My first year working here, that was not the end. We were in the same exact situation. The board was not interested. So for the first 3 years that I worked here, this board submitted the same exact statement of needs. This literally the same thing. All it did was change the date. It changed from 10 to 11, from 11 to 12, from 12 to 13. That's it. Not a letter was changed, no grammar edits, nothing. And that was reflective of the board at that time. And I think we're right back to that. And it's too bad because, like I tried to encourage you by saying, when we're on our game and we have some luck with us too, we have gotten stuff done for the neighborhood via that document. And even though our members may not read it, and our electeds may not read it to their shame, developers read it. And they come time and again. DOT reads it. They come time and again, like, I read this in your statement, and you said you guys wanted blah, blah, blah. So here it is, right? It happens often. But that's on our best day. But when we're not on the ball, then we just miss those opportunities. Which is ultimately the sin of it. But on the nearer term, the frustration for us is like, what do we do? Like right now, I've said this to Jessica and to Xavier and to Stephanie. Just straight, I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it until we figure it out.
So obviously, it's unacceptable for us not to do a district needs and budget process. I know each and every one of you has done great work with each of our committees, and all of that work should, fold nicely into this process pretty easily, as long as someone's paying attention. So if we're absent a chair of that committee, and we have ourselves here as the leaders of each committee, and we have our vice chairs, and I guess I would request that. So just quickly before I make the request, last year, I think there was a window of opportunity to speak with the elected officials and the city agencies about, my committee's things for parks. And I was like, when are we gonna do this? No, wasn't looking like it was gonna happen, but like, we had to, I couldn't not let it happen, right? Because of all the work that our committee has done to go see every park in the neighborhood and make, these assessments. So, luckily we were able to have some meetings, and the meetings over the summer are not that long. We already have our statement of district needs and all, like what we asked for last year, what the agency's responses were, and then, the outcome, right? So if we reach out to the agencies and set up a meeting and simply talk through the asks that we had for each committee under that agency, that's, a start from somewhere, right? Is that something we all might be able to like reach out to the city agencies related to our committees and work with the staff in order to make that happen? Or how do you all see this moving forward in your minds? Adam?
So how many, if I'm correct, this committee is where all the vice chairs from all the committees are members?
Yeah.
And how many meetings have they, like, say in the last 6 meetings they should have had, how many did they have? Not a lot.
Not really.
So why hasn't there been any shake up on that chairperson? Like, why are we, like, I mean, I'm willing, my committee's not really
Yeah.
impacted by this. My vice chair actually wonders why they're even on the committee, but that's separate. But it's just like as a board member, like, and I've noticed this, like, if a committee's struggling or whatever, like I will take accountability. If my members don't come to my meeting, that's on me, and I'll make sure they come. And I know, like, as the vice chair and chair of the board, it's a lot to have to manage everything. But if a chair of a committee can't make sure people are showing up to meetings, and then that's a problem. I mean, so I think we should step up in the interim, but at the same time, I'll be the bad guy and say it, that something needs to happen on that committee.
Agree.
Okay, and I'm happy to do, even though my committee has nothing to do with it, I'm happy to help where I can.
We've been having those conversations and just unable to make any.
No, and I know, trust me.
And then, sorry.
Yeah, so thanks for saying that, Adam, because that's one thing I left out of, what I was saying before. But that's another, unresolved question is, what about that budget committee? Right, like, an idea a while back was to create a committee to work on this task that will be focused on that task so that this happened every year because the other committees want to, right? And it just hasn't worked out that way. We tried it with just appointing people at random, and unfortunately, the project was corrupted because of a lack of very clear instructions. And then the idea of assembling the committee with the vice chairs of each committee, with the idea being that, well, this will give you something to do as a vice chair, because otherwise you're just kind of sitting there for the chair to be absent. Give you something meaningful to do with the chair of your committee, that then you're working as the liaison back to the budget committee to ensure that the conversations that are happening at, for example, human services, that exact information is coming back to budget. So when you're assembling that document, it just hasn't worked out that way. Folks show up to the meetings, folks that are in here that have been vice chairs during this time, we come to the meeting's called to order, and everybody just looks at me. And I'm like, yeah, but you were at your meeting. I don't go to public safety, right? I don't go to human services. I don't know what you guys are talking about, except for like the report that I get back from staff. Like, the idea is like, well, you do it. And then there's one last little thing Yeah, I want to give credit to Isaac and Jennifer, who on their own, with no consultation with me whatsoever, have just decided to do that every month. They talk about the budget every month. So if we were to convene a meeting tomorrow, Jennifer, I imagine, would be equipped to be an active participant in that conversation, informed by what they've been able to talk to at that committee. But that just hasn't happened. I still think that model can work. It just hasn't worked. And then the last thing is that if we're not gonna pursue that model, and we're gonna go back to a different model in terms of staffing up that committee, we absolutely have to have people in that committee that want to work on that specific thing. Not that they're under duress. Because I'm telling you, I sit here, Stephanie calls the meeting to order, blah, 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 Angel?
Stephanie Arroyo, so.
Yeah, I'm like, me? I'm not on this committee. Anyway,
Nelson and then.
So I just wanted, I am on that committee. And I just wanted to ask a question. As a charter mandate, we know that this is our most pivotal and important thing. I like Isaac's, the way Isaac does his stuff with the concentration on the monthly discussion, how he does that. And I think that the board may not understand, and I'm not trying to give a pass, that's not what I'm trying to do. But thinking that the district needs and budget committee has to come up with everything. And so therefore, not realizing, as you so nicely put it, that the work happens in the committee, in the monthly meetings, and that's what informs the requests for the annual statement of district needs and budget. So I wanted to say, I wanted to put out there that maybe for this year, there should not be a committee, a district needs and budget committee. But that mandatory, as Isaac is already doing, that each committee works on a section of the agenda that is mandatory to work on the district needs and budget. And that the chair understands and explains to the members, both old and new, that the work that they're actually doing there is what should be informing. So if you need repairs on 160th, there's no light on the bus stop, right? Other than that, it gets dark there in front of White Park. So that if we're discussing that, right, one of the things would be more lighting near parks by blah, 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 blah. Because I think there's a level of disengagement, and I can speak because I'm on that committee, right? And there was, when I got hurt to the time that I've been back now, all meetings were canceled or nothing was happening. And so I think that that committee is not gonna work until we get a formula going that will start informing that, because the staff on this board does almost 70% of the work. And depending on what it is, may do 90% of the work. And we as chairs, and this is something that Office Oversight has had a discussion, we should as chairs be able to create and inform agendas. And one of the things we can start doing now is putting aside a section for the agenda that's mandatory. And I dare say that not leaving it to the end of the meeting, depending on how the committees work, because by the end of the committee, everybody just wants to run out the room. But maybe that should be considered like the first or second item where a discussion is put together by the chair saying, whatever's happening in this meeting is gonna help inform the district needs and budget. The vice chair can still be the liaison for the annual statement of district needs, and that vice chair can be the one taking notes and asking questions. But maybe that needs to happen right now in the monthly meetings. So that when you have committees that say, I don't have anything, or it's a blank agenda and waiting for you to populate it, one of the things we can say is that you're gonna at least discuss your annual statement of district needs and budget.
Before we go back to you, Adam, Asher has their hand up, and then, I'll go to Isaac and back to them. Asher?
Yeah, I agree with Nilsa. Cause I remember when I was on the budget committee meeting, half the meetings were canceled, so it's not really working out. And also just being in that space, I could take notes from the meeting, from my meeting, but at the same time, I still feel like when we would get to the end, I would go to my committee and I'm like, this is what we discussed. I want to be the one, as when I was vice chair, I want to be the one single-handedly talking for people. So I think if we do it within the committee, it gets rid of that little hurdle. And it also makes it so much easier just to like do it little by little and just have someone take notes in the, if that makes sense. Sorry, my brain's a little scrambled, but yeah.
Thank you. Isaac?
I appreciate you all, I appreciate your kind words. It's good to know that's landing good. I think it started because last year budget time, it didn't go well with our committee. I'll just say it that way. You know, and we had a few people leave our committee because I held people accountable, you know, but I also had to reflect on it and think about. Now, these were board members who were here for a minute, so they didn't have an excuse for it, but for new members, it's an intimidating process, you know, so I do think I don't like the word mandatory, but I do think everybody's budget, everyone's agenda, every committee's agenda should have the budget on it, just so that it's fresh in committee members' minds. If they're starting in September, they're already being thrown in the fire. September should really be, over the summer, but particularly September should be a really onboarding into the budget process orientation at every meeting we have in some capacity, like at committee level and at the board level, you know, just reiterating things for people to be prepared for October and not to be stressed out about it, but to understand, you know, we do want to know from you with respects to the expertise you bring to the table. What are some issues you see? Forget about what's on this paper, because that's another thing. Like showing people the big spreadsheet and all that before you talk about the issues with people is intimidating, and then they start trying to put the issues they have within the framing of the text. And I think it's a process we have to kind of take people through in order to, you know, and it's unfortunate that October is the month we have to do it, right? Because we're coming back September. So I won't be long-winded, but I do think it's important that each committee chair invest in the members in that way. Yeah.
Thank you, Isaac. Before we go back to it, tomorrow, Anne Marie and then Lisa.
I'll pass my
So what I wanna say is thank you, because it is intimidating. I went from being part of the Human Services and Housing Committee to straight to the Vice Chair of Eco Dev, and then it was go to this meeting and talk about these things. But I don't know, I wasn't prepared. Yes, we did have a meeting the day before, but I'm new, so I needed more information. These are things that have been happening for years.
Yeah.
On this list, like you said, the same things over. I don't know what's going on. I needed more time, we needed more preparation in order to be able to do what I have to do in district budgeting. And also, and then a lot of the meetings are canceled. So it's just intimidating, but I think letting the new members know, or at least an orientation, this is what district budget is, these are what we've been working on. And then also having the monthly meetings, I think that would definitely work. I mean, have it in our monthly meetings, the discussion.
Jose, Angel, do you want to say it now or? Jose.
So I'm having a hard time. Well, do we know why they were canceled?
I don't personally.
Or no agendas.
I thought that was, but all right, so we don't, they were canceled.
Right.
I mean, at this point, honestly, I think this conversation is really moved, because this is our last month.
Yeah.
We don't meet July, we don't meet August, maybe, or some emergency. September, we have to give it in by October. So this is gonna happen in our committees anyway, so I'm not really sure. You know, typically what I understood is that we worked in a committee and they put it together. When you were chair, you kind of, and he was on top of it. They go, they don't know, you know, I was on top of it, I'll tell you. So then they kind of put it together there. Right? And then, but we still worked on it in committee, so I'm really not sure what we're discussing. Because this is how we've always done, we're supposed to do it that way. Particularly now in September, which, you know, what I'll do is work on it during the summer. I mean, for my situation, a lot of my projects are very big and, you know, hopefully when they get to it. But, you know, I take a different approach. I just bother DOT, you know, and I have them working all summer. I'm already scheduling Rafael for walk. You know, lighting issues, sidewalk issues, I like giving them a hard time, I'm here the whole summer, I'm leaving for 2 weeks, but other than that. I make them come out, I make them walk the neighborhood. You know, and, you know, Lyle was sweating one time, but, you know, it is what it is, Rafael loves coming out, so that's not an issue. But, I mean, I just don't know are we making a decision to remove this, because at the same time, like. You know, it's gonna give you a hard time, but like. I mean, too bad it's not here today, but I mean, it would be concerning to me from a leadership position that this very, very important committee has been absent, and honestly, we haven't discussed it at all in any of our executive meetings, particularly since it's canceled, then there's no absence in your, so it doesn't really come up. You don't see anything absent here because of course, it's all of them have been canceled. So I think I liked the way, I thought it was smart. I thought it was smart to have the vice chairs there, even though I understand, like, especially as a new member. Being a new member is tough on the community board, just a lot of things you catch up, but the whole point of that is you work with your chair. I thought it was very intelligent to have that particular way, that format of having the vice chair there, so you can communicate with the chair, you can put things together. I know that my vice chair, you know, gave me some feedback, that she would, you know, that she was only allowed to speak about public safety issues at that committee. She couldn't comment about any other issues. You know, saying that. So after that, she kind of lost interest or whatever it was. I'm not sure what the miscommunication was. But, you know, I definitely think like, you know, at this point, like, if that chair can't do the work, then she needs to step aside. You know, mind you, I have a great relationship with Stephanie, but it's what it is, right? Like, if you're canceling a meeting, we're not sure what it is, then don't do it.
He said it. So what is the leadership gonna do?
Because it's a leadership.
Because it's in the bylaws for the committee to exist. I'm sorry that as stated, I used to be the chair, so a lot of the policy and the processes that are written in black and white were created, honestly, with our assistant, DM at the time. I brought this up when I was under attack, not attack, when I was being questioned for my attendance. Right, and I brought this up back then. I'm happy to hear that this is the second year that, I don't know if I'm happy with that word, but I find it interesting that we're in the second year and we've done nothing. And I don't disagree that, yeah, the members are gonna try. In my experience, they're gonna fail. They're gonna do a really good effort. They're gonna try as individual committees, but as some of you are already familiar, as you know, Jessica, when you got put on, that's why the emphasis of the term cross-committee collaboration, right? Because 2 or 3 committees will serve one section that we're talking about, for those of us that are familiar with that. So as much as like I said, I could belabor the points that are brought up to you. It's a simple question. When are we getting a new chair? Because that's the end. And it's in our bylaws that committee exists. And I don't know necessarily if that's gonna be a saving
We have to
grace.
change the bylaws.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a saving grace for this year,
It's a
but
much
maybe
easier
maybe next year there'll be, you know, a solution, because if we lose that traction, I agree wholeheartedly, because when I came on this board, we did nothing for last year. Then we created the committee, and ever since then, it was the hottest topic. I stepped down for obvious reasons to head up land use when we're losing that chair. Don't, you know, I'm hearing about it now, and
Personally, I would like nothing more than to
this is.
address the
You know what I mean?
leadership.
Like, this is right in black and white. It tells me when they needed to meet, when they needed to do.
I will.
I think it's too late to fix it.
Yeah, before I go to Angel, you know, obviously as vice chair of the board, I have very little power to make any decisions, as you know.
Understood.
So Angel and I have been pushing this every single Monday meeting for the last couple months, and then, you know, intermittently before that. And clearly there needs to be change made.
We'll be bothering, the rest of us will be bothering, because that's what I do. I just bother Xavier.
Well, election's coming up in November.
That's in a week.
So, yes, well, before I
We
go
go
to
for
Angel,
chairs too.
in a perfect world, we remove the chair, appoint someone else,
That's what has to happen.
do the work of as chairs of our committees to make the process continue as it should through the summer. And I'm happy to work with you all on that in whatever capacity we need to attend all of the meetings with the city agencies and to get it done. And then, we can discuss as an executive team, how we're gonna make next year better, but until we're able to make a change, I physically cannot make the change for us. So we're going to make the change, it's just a matter of when.
So the only person who can make that change is the chair?
Yep.
You just involved in him, that's what you just said. That's what I just
We've
did.
been doing that.
Well,
Angel,
I'll help with that as well.
But we'll help you in this situation.
So, okay. I'm gonna throw cold water on this. It's not just the budget committee. It's all the
It is.
committees and the budget commission. So y'all don't get off, scot-free here. You guys have to get it together at your committees. You have to. And, like Michelle showing up to the budget, committee with ideas on how we're gonna do human service stuff. I'm like, you missed your assignment, dude. I'm like, your assignment is represent public safety. Okay, like, do that. If you come to the table with nothing and then complain that I don't have, I can't talk about human services, I'm like, my man. I'm like, my friend, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you had a task to do. I'm like, let's be fair, right? So then I come in the next day and I'm like, hey, Marlene, how did this go? And, oh, no, Marlene, who does your committee? Khalid. I'm like, hey, Khalid, how did this go? Oh, this person wanted to talk about some other rent. I'm like, what about the transportation stuff? What about the bridge on 128th Street? What about the crossing stuff? What about nothing? Like, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be. I'm like, stay on task and please help us to do the stuff. On the overwhelming, yes. I will say to that point, we should not be ever expecting a member just appointed to the board to be ready to speak on heavy issues. That's why, and I think this was unfair to you, put somebody in a leadership position when they've just been here a couple of seconds. Give them a little time to get the feel of the place. It's the same thing with like the borough president. I don't know what the hell they think about appointing people to the board that have never been here. And then they're like, oh, what's a community board? I'm like, yeah, of course you're confused, buddy. I'm like, no one gave you a hand. Let these people sit here, right? This guy's cousin was on the board for a while. He just sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there. And then when he was ready to step up, he was ready. But you can't just put somebody else and then, hey, Emery, what do you got? And she's like, I just got here. Right? That's not fair.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, like flip it, it's not fair to me either, because I'm like, process wise, like I have to ask you. Okay, because I can't ask him because he's not the person, I'm like, so like we have to be mindful and responsible to the members, right? And supportive to them and to the process. That makes sense, to ensure that these processes work and aren't just, that looks nice on paper. I'm like, yeah. If no one reads, who cares if it looks nice on paper? Like you have to like actually be committed to it. Like, like I don't live here. I've never lived here. I'm not gonna live here. But I'm committed to it. Right? So it's all East Harlem all the time. And that's kind of the same mindset that we have to have in these roles. Otherwise, like it's unfair. People have their lives and they're volunteering their time to do this. Well, let's use their time productively instead of wasting adults' time, and then having to, yes, Jason, have this conversation again a year later because we haven't resolved it. We haven't resolved the budget committee for sure, but we also haven't resolved the budget process. Like none of us get off scot-free here. We all have to get it together. And again, just to give you some hope, when we're on point, we get stuff that happen. Might take a little longer. Some things the city just tells us to kick rocks, but we have, like, if you give me a piece of paper, I'll give you a long list of shit that we've done. Right? But it's when we're on point.
Again, do you want to say what you were gonna say?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right,
You
well,
were gonna say what I was gonna say.
okay, yeah, I know, I think we're all, we all know what needs to happen. I'm so sorry. Is there a world where between now and full board, we just, as committee chairs, take a look at what we submitted last year, what the city agency's responses were, and see how many requests there were from your committee and which agencies that they related
The
to?
next 3 days.
I just before full board.
We have the whole summer.
No, we don't.
No, so we can do the meeting.
We have to schedule the consultation meetings with the city agencies, and we should be doing that right now. So if we just look at what we said last year, look at what the city agencies said, and see how many, you know, each one of our committees has to deal with, and then can we aim for July 4th, that we touch base together, me and the chairs of each committee to start the process to reach out to the city agencies? But, you know,
So the committees are interested
Yeah,
and you come to us with your questions.
Yeah.
Then we will make the invitations to
Okay.
the agencies. If you have no questions, we're not gonna send that invitation. It's like, I know I'm inviting Parks, because she's gonna give me a list. But if I don't know that I'm gonna get a list with DOT, I'm not gonna invite DOT.
And if I may, and have with experience, the district consultation served the staff and the leadership more than us, if that makes sense. We're not present. I don't disagree. And that's been a standing issue for years. We got to the point of having consultations, and now it sounds like we lost it because of our lack of process. So
Yeah.
in fairness to your leadership, I would not push others to be ready for something that they're not, to be prepared for it, because they gave us the adopted budget around March. There's still the mayor's thing that's happening right now with negotiations with council, and we haven't been involved in that process in some point since the disbanding of the SDA committee. So I think for the, you know, if I may, if there are agencies that are really stressed or that we're really stressed to meet with because we're not performing. But, I don't disagree with Angel. You don't want to call the agencies just to have them out here and we're not gonna be prepared.
But it's not that we're coming to them with new requests. I think it's just about assessing what we had already requested. And then, you know, if we want to talk about what we might request, like we can allude to that, but we haven't made those requests yet. So it's really, it's actually the simplest thing ever to just print out what we already have and ask them, why did you say this? Like, it's not that hard. So if we could all just work together with Angel and I, but if we could just say that we want to do it as a committee chair with an understanding of what that might be before July 4th, then on July 8th, we can release all the emails from the people that we've heard of to the city agencies that are related and make that work. Does that sound like an actionable plan?
that's good.
Jessica, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, just clarifying, so we don't have to reach out to every single agency that is under our, like, you know, with youth and education, I may request CUNY, School Construction Authority out. If CUNY, let's say for example, CUNY answered my request, I'll have to invite CUNY, right?
I mean,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, if they funded the request and there's no more questions, then yeah, I don't think there's any other reason to reach out to them unless there's something that you're thinking about for next year. But I think most of the questions are, why didn't we fund certain things, or why was this answer a non-answer?
Okay, so more specifically, we're responding to the request response, giving questions. Okay, I understand it. I got it. If anything,
Yeah.
I'll text you. Bye.
Yeah, happy to chat offline with anybody and we can make this work. Do we want to move along? We good with this?
Good.
Okay. Our next item on the agenda is summer meetings. So, sorry, I'm working off of my memory. But ideally, we don't meet in the summertime. Obviously, that's everyone's goal. I actually went to Borough Board for the first time today, and I couldn't believe how many community boards meet in July. It's nuts. They were like, oh, our full board meetings, our next full board meetings, middle of July. I was like, wow, we don't even meet in July. But so, you know, outside of the need to assess leadership, which we already talked about generally, the only reason we would need to meet is for licenses and permit stuff, which I think Angel and I discussed there being a possibility for an administrative approval in some way. So I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, sure. So like Dan was saying before, right? Like he has a reason to be disappointed with the process. But we're stuck trying to be responsive to applicants that come in after LNP might have met in June. Which is a lot of people keep coming, right? Both liquor and street activity. And eventually these dining out things are gonna be coming too. So we're kind of stuck, so like we're using executive to get these things clear before we go on the summer break. So it's imperfect, but that's what like, we're trying to do. I don't like it here either. So I don't like talking to liquor license applicants. But what we have, the unanswered questions that we have to deal with is, are we going to standardize meetings in July to deal with all of those applications that are gonna keep coming? Like, there's a stack of street activity stuff on Marlene's desk right now. Right there, it's not on here and won't be on Tuesday. Those have to be, we have to figure out what to do with it,
We should deny them all.
but there's no meeting,
I actually agree with that.
but there's no meeting.
They should have known.
And this, can I finish?
Yeah, please.
And also liquor licenses, right? So it's very easy to say things offhand, but they have a right to apply. So if they know what their rights are, they're going to apply, and then we're gonna be losing an opportunity, right? So yeah, should they do this and whatever, in a perfect, yes. But they have a right. The only restriction on them is a certain number of days before their events. That's it. So those applications are just there. And we have an opportunity to comment. We're not required to comment, but an opportunity to comment. And community boards like to comment, so what we have to figure out is, how do we deal with all those applications? Do we have another meeting? And to be clear, I don't wanna see you guys again after Tuesday, but if that's what's necessary, fine. Or, do we have an LNP and a full board? Or do we have just executive to just run through all these things? Or do we figure out some administrative way to deal with the bulk of these applications? Like Jessica referenced, other boards do things differently. Other boards do not look at, for example, renewals at all. Right? The majority of applications we get are renewals for liquor licenses. Second is new, and then adjustments and alterations and all that jazz. We could come up with something that's in line with the committee's procedure, right? For example, the committee on renewals that have no issues and blah, blah, blah. They're essentially just automatically approved unless someone, did something terrible. But that's usually the case. So those ones, we could just knock out and approve. We can empower the chair to approve those administratively in accordance with the committee's, procedures. Similarly with street activities. These are just ideas. I'm not wedded to these, but it's trying to put something on the table to figure out how to deal with that number of applications that comes. Similarly, at the end of summer, or towards the end of summer, applications are coming in August. That if you have your application August 1st, you have to August 30th, and we can ask them to withdraw and reapply. And many of them do, but they don't have to. And the risk that we run is losing our opportunity to comment. If the board is okay with losing those opportunities, then so be it. I'm just laying out per what the board typically wants to comment on, which is everything. That we have an unanswered question as to what to do with those applications.
Nelson and then Jose.
So I hesitate to give an opinion right now based on everything you said, because the licensing and permits have their own process. But I'm considering the administrative that you mentioned. Would that be, like, let's say a renewal, as you mentioned, like other boards automatically renew? Do they look at the 311s and everything, or is it just that you don't know?
I don't
It's
know
just
what they do.
automatic?
I don't know what they do specifically. Like there's, like, I know for a fact that 3 doesn't even, they don't want agenda them, they know nothing. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just to the table. I'm just, just throwing out, that people can, like, we have a process where everything gets approved by full board, it has to be signed by the chair. I think that's 1000% appropriate and we should never waive. But there's still things that have to be figured out. That's what I was saying, so long as it's consistent with the procedures that committees already come up with, so we're not circumventing or doing anything contrary to what the committee would typically. Then there's still the question of new, what do you do with the new?
Right.
Other than ask them to withdraw and reapply, but then that's totally up to the applicant.
Okay.
So what's the procedure now with the city?
I'm not gonna answer this because I'm actually surprised that I'm finding out about this like everybody else is.
Which one?
Well, like, Why wouldn't I be consulted about
I
this
mean, we
project?
just talked about this on Monday.
Okay, I could have been on that call.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
it's-
I'm just saying, we're talking about chairs who haven't had meetings in months, meaning they were given months opportunity to correct things.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna finish what I was gonna say. So I honestly am not gonna have any comment on this tonight. Any questions, whatever you guys could ask me at another time. But no.
So I just think that's a little bit unfair, Adam, because like, as you know, like the chair has not been around and Angel and I are doing our best to keep things moving. And as we're going about trying to keep things moving, we're thinking to the summer and the fact that, you know, we probably don't want to meet. So what does that mean? Like, yes, we should have invited you to the meeting. I didn't know we were gonna even discuss this. But we don't have agendas for these meetings. It's just an idea that came up for this meeting to
Right,
discuss. So
and 3 days later, here we are talking about it.
Yeah.
No decisions have been,
And
just ideas.
I was going to acknowledge you first as the chair of that committee, but you didn't seem like you wanted, you know, to speak, so I just went to the first person that raised their hand. So I just hope, Adam, that you can give us a chance, like, we're not trying to, like, make an affront to you, like, we're just trying to help the board. Do you have anything to say? Asher?
Last year I didn't say.
It was just, my suggestion, if we do decide to go through with a July meeting, maybe just bring it up at full board and see how many people say they will actually show up, because there's no point in us even continuing looking for a space or something like that if no one's gonna show up and we don't have quorum.
Do we do it just an executive?
Hmm?
We could
Yeah.
do it just as with an executive. We've done that before. We
Oh,
usually
okay.
meet in July as executive.
Alright, I skipped you, Jose.
That's a word. but-
Okay, I thought we were saying like a July full board meeting. Sorry,
No,
that's,
Yep, sorry, Asher, we were not clear. It would be an executive committee meeting that would act in for the board, and we would ratify that at September forward, correct, Angel?
So it was I threw out a number of ideas,
Yeah.
like that you could do, you know, a committee and full board, or you could just do the executive. I was throwing out a number of this, but the point is just to capture what to do with those applications. Cause like having no answer, I'll be here Monday will come back from vacation and the stack is that big and I have no answer. So I'm just trying to resolve it.
Okay,
So.
sorry,
go ahead,
Go
Asher.
ahead, Ashley, finish.
I like the idea of not accepting renewals over the summer, because if it was a renewal, they should have known that they needed to renew it. Do they get like some type of notification that they're up for renewal?
They get a notification from the SLA.
Yeah, so I don't think that if people decided to procrastinate, we should be taking up renewals over the summer.
Jose?
So currently. For street activities, not so much the licensing, right, but street activities, we get a lot in the summer, because that's when typically one street goes streets. And they tend to do it like a week before. What's the timetable? 30 days? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's hard to know. So it depends on the kind of activity. So a block party, I think it's 30 days.
What's the
Um,
minimum? 30 is the minimum?
So no, it depends on the category. There are some events that SAPO calls street events, and they have 3 different versions. One of them is 7 days, one of them 14 days, one of them's a little longer. And then aside from that street events, then they have block parties, farmers markets, festivals, multi-days. And each one of those has a different lead time that you have to apply by. And so like festivals, we don't get caught with those, but those are really far in advance that they have to put them in. And like the multi-days, they're not even entertaining those. So we avoid those. So essentially what we're getting is, it's gonna be like a 1-day festival or a block party or one of these street event things. Which are just a hassle, but like.
Which we may not even
like
have.
7 days.
Even in meeting, we may not have the
Yeah.
time to actually give our input, because it's just too short.
Yeah, or, you know, another, but this just waive the review. Which, you know, boards do. But that's not my call to make. I'm just putting all the cards on the table for you all to consider and then at some point decide which way you want to go forward.
No, sir.
I remember, not this year, maybe this, when you get to a certain age, you lose your years, where I know the licenses and permits did a review of the paperwork that they were doing and they tightened up and they changed stuff like that. So with anything, right, we can ask for ideas, but since the licenses and permits are the ones that license and permit committee is the one that really does the work, I'm wondering, is there an avenue, right, where, right, you saw like the name says, where the input can be asked in a short window of time, so that that can be discussed exactly how we could make that work.
So absolutely, and let's be very clear, no decisions have been made.
No, I'm not
But
saying.
no, I want to be very clear, and no decisions are ever made without consulting with whomever it may impact. This is an idea put on the table for you all to discuss. Now, if the committee wants to do this or that, that's up to the committee. Right? Those procedures that you referenced, I wrote them and gave them to the committee, and the committee took it, did what they wanted with it, okay? It's ultimately the committee's prerogative. So yeah, it can be however they want to do it.
No, I'm just saying.
But insofar as, like, my interest in it, from a staff perspective, as we all know, it's the staff that processes the applications. So we have to have an idea of what to say. We're gonna get a call Monday. And if I don't have an answer, or the following Monday, or 4 Mondays from now, and there's gonna be an applicant all hot and bothered, right? And they're gonna be like, oh, well, what about this, what about that? And I'm gonna be like, I don't know what to say, right? Like, I need to know. Once I know, then I just hold to that and hold to that and hold to that.
Okay.
But anyway, so it's just a problem that needs a solution.
All right, so last chance for any comments. All right, I would suggest, because there's no clear answer here, that we can proceed with one executive committee meeting in July to address the new permits only, and that renewals can be approved through the process should there be no concerns, and if there are concerns, they can also be addressed with the new permits. And that we can work with the licenses and permits committee to find a long-term solution, but that this is the solution we could move forward with. Are there any other ideas?
I'll talk.
Thank you.
Renewals, I hear what Asher's saying, and for the longest, I thought, they know better, they should have applied beforehand, and, I run a restaurant stuff, I know how stressful it can be, and you can forget things and this and that. And renewals are pretty straightforward. Angel had touched on it, and I think we talked about it months ago together, about some kind of administrative approval process, which I'm fine with, especially on renewals, even like block parties, we have a rule where if they've done it 2 years in a row without incident, it's an automatic approval. Like, why are we gonna all sit here in the summer to do this, right? So assuming the renewals, block parties that have been repeated, I think that those can just go straight to the staff in the summer. I don't think we should penalize people for renewals, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, they're probably gonna get their licenses anyway, and then it just looks like we're, being spiteful for no reason. New applications are trickier, because you can go, they don't really know what the process is, maybe it's their first time doing it, and now we're stalling them, whatever. So, I think a meeting in the summer is unavoidable. I think, how do we make it the shortest possible meeting that we can have, right? So, if you guys think this is okay, new liquor licenses and street activities that we've never had before, we will discuss as a committee. Anything that we've already done, and that, I trust Marlene and Angel, and you guys can feel free to consult with me, as long as we don't see any issues or irregularities, or, they tried to change the hours or something on us. I'll let the staff approve it, so we're on the record. I don't think we should be waiving anything, that's my opinion. And sorry if I got a little bit defensive, but, and I'm not blaming you guys forever, but, there's other reasons, and maybe you're the one that I feel left out of certain decisions, but that's maybe not an issue with anybody. I don't want to get into that, but so if everybody's okay with that, I think unavoidable to meet, but we can make it like a 30-minute meeting rather than a 3-hour meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, so go ahead.
Do we need to do a motion over them without right now, or is that something that we understand to do?
So in terms of need, maybe just to record that you guys agree to that as a committee. And to be clear, like to what Adam was saying, the approval, it won't be Marlene and I approving it. We're gonna review it, do the same thing, make sure that, you know, like, does this look okay? Is it, you know, Adam was like, yeah, that's fine. And then Xavier, these are all good to go. We need your signature. And then he's gonna say yes, and then I put it on, then it goes out. Like it won't just be.
Yeah, I guess.
And I say that because I'm a real stickler for the chair signing stuff.
Right, yeah.
I don't like anything deviating from that, so that I can then hold the chair accountable to that process when they stray.
So you said we do wanna put it on the record with the.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make it, so, all right. All right, I make a motion that, any new liquor licenses or new street activity permit events, we will meet, as an executive committee. I will leave that up to our chair, vice chair, district manager to pick the date, but we will have a summer meeting for that. Any renewal liquor license applications or any street events that we've had in the past, assuming there were no issues with them and no, major changes in their applications, we will allow then the committee to review that with me. At which point, if we don't see anything, we'll pass it to the chair of our board to sign off, as a, on behalf of the whole board, all right, or deny.
Is there a second? Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, Usher. Any opposed?
I should oppose.
Any abstentions, the motion carries. Thank you all, and I know this has been a rough couple of months, so I'm sorry that things are out of order. And, you know, I want nothing more for it to be better, and we will continue to make it better. I'm gonna need help with the wording, because I didn't get all those words.
I got it.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is new member onboarding and welcome event. Just so that you all know, we've been trying to pinpoint a date, with Xavier's schedule. And now I'm looking at the calendar and that date feels too close. We were looking at July 14th and July 20th. That's like 2 weekends, 3 weekends from now. I don't think that we're gonna realistically make that work. But as we think about, we already talked about new member onboarding, and I think we have some great notes if you read our meeting minutes from the last conversations that we had on this. But when there are opportunities, last year we had done a partnership with Civitas, if y'all remember. There was a jazz band that they brought to the open street, and you know, we did some event there. Not a lot of people showed up though, so I think there's, you know, ideally, now that we're back from, you know, virtual situations, like hopefully we can be more in community with each other at these kinds of events. So I would like to pick a date that works for all of us so that we can be the champions of welcoming new members onto the community board. There was also an opportunity to pair it with the final community gardens tours. We have every other weekend throughout the entire summer and until August, we have community garden tours. Some of the community gardens have been so nice to us, like giving us, you know, rice and beans and steak and chicken and drinks and fruit kebabs and all sorts of things.
Sweet, 'cause I'm
So, everybody's invited, so there's no barrier for entry for these tours, but I think there are a lot of options, whether we wanna do the jazz band again, whether we wanna, you know, to have it relate to something else we're doing, or if we wanna just have a fresh thing. Do we think that July 14th or 20th is too soon? Elsa?
Just a quick question, since this is new member onboarding / welcome event, these are 2 separate events.
What event?
Oh, it's one event where the onboarding will happen at that particular place.
You took the second Sunday in July.
Yes. But sorry, to answer Elsa's point, I think we've done it a variety of different ways. It can be whatever we want it to be, but ideally we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And we spend time together and, you know, give the new members an idea of what they're getting into. Jose?
I mean, what are we having like water slides? What are we doing that we're preparing? Like, it's gonna be that complicated.
No,
We used to have barbecue spot, we used to just sit, talk. Very simple, very easy. I don't think, other than like planning who brings what, I don't think we should make it too complicated.
do you think it should be a potluck?
Yeah, I think we've done that in the past. We used to do that some time ago. You were there.
No, I wonder whatever happened to it.
Yeah,
do we still have access to the back here?
Yeah, no, but I wouldn't do it. Stuff's falling there all the time.
That's what I'm
Like
doing.
what?
Candy has a great spot, because they could ask her.
Alright, so we
We
got,
could
you
get
know,
one.
candy
It's really
floss.
nice.
But I don't think we
Shade.
could,
Or with the
make it
gardens.
overly complicated, because then when you complicate things, we used to do it end of June before, which was always terrible.
Yeah.
Kids get out of school, everybody has to take off. After 4th of July is ideal, honestly, for me. Anytime after that is fine. But whether it's 14th or what's it, Sunday? Sunday,
or the 20th, what was the other?
20th is a Saturday.
Where's the tour? That tour?
We should really like send like a little thing to everyone, be like, hey, can you make these dates?
Yeah, doodle, yeah,
And
do
see
that.
like,
When is that tour?
So the tour, the next, I guess the closest tour is on the 13th. Usually from 11 AM to,
on Saturday.
yeah,
I was thinking if we did, I can't commit us to Candy's, because it's her place. But if we were able to get her spot, I think it would work for both pieces. Because there's the outside part where you can, break bread, and then there's like right next to it, a little indoor spot, we can do a quick, like, corny onboarding, like, there's on board works. And then go out there and, eat,
Talking about the little plaza, right?
yeah, and, guzzle sodas and stuff.
Yeah.
Make
That works.
fun of
No,
it.
the basement area you're talking about.
Yeah, like you can meet there, and then next to it is the.
Yeah, we used to have our meetings there.
Really
Echo
kinda
Dome
nice,
used to meet there.
if she has it a bit.
Mhm.
a lot of plaza. That would be a great, if worst case scenario, like, we could also, like, have it in Central Park. And then, like, I could ask for the, community
See, that gets
room of my,
complicated.
yeah.
It's complicated, we're bringing food, we're getting stuff, we're
Okay.
hopefully we're having some drinks. So we don't wanna get arrested in Central Park, even though everybody else.
All right, well, I'll send a doodle poll for basically every Saturday and Sunday that's not a parks tour. Through July and maybe a little bit of the beginning of August, and then circulate that ahead of full board. And then I'll ask for everyone at full board to respond, and we can go from there. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Nelson?
I have a question, this will go on whether Xavier is available or not.
Yes.
Okay. This.
See, cause if you do it at full board and get everyone there, then you can pick a date,
Like,
cause
yeah.
otherwise, it's just, you're gonna keep pushing it out.
Yeah, there's like a QR code and everyone responds in the moment, and then we just pick it right there. Okay, I like that idea. And then, will someone reach out to Candy?
I can call.
There you go.
Thank you.
Love a volunteer.
When do you want me to ask you for the 13th?
If,
Is it
well,
the Saturday or the
you
Sunday?
know, if we could pick a date and it happens to work for her,
Yeah.
then can we host it there? If not, we'll find something.
And she's offered a lot of times.
Okay,
I think
It's usually not-
the idea is she would welcome to is availability.
I'm just speaking for myself, August is the best time and I can never do Sundays.
okay, so we'll,
I can do Saturday.
we'll offer Sundays just for the opening, and I'll extend it all the way through July and August, just so that there's a comprehensive understanding. I think the further you go out, the more likely people are gonna be available, so, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, no, I know last year we didn't get invited, so it's good to hear that we have an opportunity to.
They left
Unfortunately,
you off the list?
telling us, it's 2 weeks from now, so,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll get that moving. We'll circulate a doodle poll and we'll execute it on full board. Thank you, everybody, for your help on this. The next item on the agenda is the committee assignments process.
What's that?
Angel.
Yeah. So I was just waiting for full board to happen. Then I'll circulate my annual email to the members. You guys, the little survey thing to select the committees that you prefer to be appointed to for the meeting session that begins in September. And then we'll give it a month, and then we'll keep extending it because people don't read their emails. And then you guys start calling me about what committee was I assigned to, like, I can't tell you, because you never responded. We'll go through that whole dance. But yeah, no, I'll get it on next week. Hopefully people all respond. We have a lot of new members, so hopefully we can do that sooner than later. And then, once that closes, then, hand that off to the chair, and the chair makes the calls and start making the announcements. Hopefully, so folks can come prepared for for September, maybe give themselves a little bit of time, in theory, to read up on what their assigned committees are up to.
What in your mind is like like a deadline for having decisions made?
Oh, decisions. So I think I give 2 weeks to respond to the thing, and then I just hand it off to like mid-July, like announcements.
So if we say by the end of July, everyone will know. what
Yeah,
committees they'll be on.
yeah.
So they have all of August to research and be
Yeah,
prepared for
yeah, yeah.
September.
And last year was Evan, Xavier. Yeah, we turned it around pretty quick last year, if I remember. It was just, the members took a long time.
Any other comments about the assignments process?
Oh, just to like, since it's all leaders here, if you're having issues with members, don't say here, that you want to communicate to the chair, I would encourage you to do that, so that the chair is informed when making decisions ultimately and isn't, left unaware of any issues that there might be.
And if you're gonna send that in an email, it would be great to CC Angel and I just so it doesn't get lost.
Like Isaac is a problem. You have to communicate that.
I'm sure y'all got some email before.
No,
Yeah, we got you.
no, I picked you because we don't have emails.
Good.
I don't have one of anybody you either. I know. So relax. Everybody likes you.
All right.
You didn't catch the jokes, so forget it, don't worry about it.
If there's one member, I'll let you know.
I know you're good.
Okay, thank you again. We look forward to hearing from you on that. The last element is just, I think committee reports and review of draft agenda we can address together. I guess we'll start with whoever's first, which is, I think, so housing.
Okay, well, at at June fourth, we had a cast of thousands in attendance. We basically, because they were residents who were concerned about about 421A. And we basically said to them that we would do all we can to get relief for you, but it's going to take time, because the thing is that it's almost like passing a bill takes a long time. So the thing, and also the thing, you told them, says we should forget about 421, it's not coming back. Anything that helps you from your on it is going to have nothing to do with it. So we said that we're going to spend the summer, because I'll be spending the summer with Federal Lopez, writing something to the local electeds, and see if we can get traction and get out for the residents.
So do you know about 485X?
485X basically will not help the people that the residents didn't have. That's for you.
Right.
So.
There's a lot of people that.
Yeah.
It inspired and now they're like, I gotta pay,
That's the concern reports.
but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, yeah, but everyone else pays too.
And also using a statement that states that the court could may add a committee meeting in January. So a lot of people went into that with, if you pay the mortgage, that's basically all you have to do. Say that they're paying a mortgage like paying the rent, but there's really a lot more to it. So the thing is that that's something that will also, that's a request that you're gonna put for our committee, is any programs for housing, or if it's going to be co-ops or condos, that they're also taught economic empowerment. That the thing is that for those of you who own businesses, owning a house is like owning a business. You always have to have money somewhere. And it's just a thing where, and it's just not, like the thing is that, there are a lot of people who own their own homes. The thing is, like, if you rent an apartment, if your refrigerator goes under the landlord is supposed to get you new one. See, but when you own your home, you have to, if your refrigerator, you have to buy your own. So that's, so with those things, but it's, but economic empowerment would help those folks, quite well. And also, hopefully we will get Have the document out to local workers by the end of the summer.
Great, thank you, John. And just looking at this agenda, I forgot to mention that there's a presentation again from IBO as discussed on the DSNY sanitation garage. They're coming to full board to reiterate what they said, at our Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee. And just a note that Angel, George, James and I are meeting tomorrow to discuss what I will report shortly in Environment, Open Space and Parks regarding that, but there's a lot of movement there. Next was licenses and permits.
Just a lot of application.
You know,
There, because it might come up at full board, there was remember I don't want to belabor this, but the Mexican Independence, we had the two. So then, the one that didn't get it, because we're gonna give her, Angel wants me to be careful how I say this, but like first, look, we don't want to, remember she thought she's gonna get it every year moving forward. We're gonna give her like the opportunity, that guy's not gonna apply. She comes this month and applies for the week before. So then she says, oh, but it's also gonna be Ecuadorian independence or something, coupled to Mexican independence. And I might have been a little too blunt. I mean, I got some looks, but I just said, well, have you ever done anything for, Ecuadorian people are very important, but have you done any, I mean, Jose is like my favorite person. He's Ecuadorian, but
I didn't even know.
well, I don't even know if it's independent. She just made it like this joint thing and I had to call her on it.
September?
Yeah, September, I think it'll be September 5th. Basically, we told her like, we don't want you doing a Mexican independence before this guy and undercutting him.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I saw through it. I'm like, you're just slapping this other thing in to, to get through it. So, we denied it. I just bring that up because it was a little contentious and I don't know that she might not show up and at least we're all on the same page. If I gotta field questions on it, I'll do it. Other than that, a lot of applications, but that's how June is and, nothing really out of the ordinary. So.
that was number 8.
What?
That was number 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least you're all on the same page.
Okay, thank you for that warning. All right, next, we have pages of licenses and permits. Do you-
We did that meeting in an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
We have 2 action items in the parks. Let me go to my meeting minutes here.
Oh, who's that chair?
You gotta report something.
Okay, so.
Sorry the other day, I don't know if you recognize me or not. You made it just. I don't know.
All right, hush.
Did you look good?
At Parks, we had a presentation, by the Department of Parks and Recreation for a site on Randall's Island. We didn't know going into the meeting what the presentation was going to be about. But they needed us to provide a letter of acknowledgement in that moment so that they could have the PDC review. Actually, it was supposed to be, 2 days ago. So we heard their presentation and just a summary is that it's called the Manhattan Storehouse. It's essentially moving something from lower Manhattan where all the storage of all things parks maintenance and operations is held to Randall's Island where there's currently a site, under the bridge area. I could point at a map. I actually might. There's.
One question.
So this is the area that they were looking at for the Manhattan storefront project. And this is the area that we suggested for a DSNY sanitation garage. I mean, it's not exactly the same location. It's probably a 10-minute walk. And really it's all one island, but, when they presented the projects, there was it's a 9,000 square foot building. With an agglomeration of a number of uses, from Parks Partnership people, they're storing stuff for them. They've got a site large enough for multiple semi trucks to turn around. And, so we asked a series of questions about, why that site was selected. What are they gonna do in an emergency snowstorm? How are they concerned with vehicles of that size? Basically asking all the questions that DSNY told us was the excuse why the sanitation garage could not go on Randall's Island. And what we heard was that none of those concerns are real. So it is 2 different sites, sure. But we were of the opinion as a committee that we didn't want to provide a letter of acknowledgement for that project because should the vacant site on K Road and First Avenue that we originally suggested still be an option for a garage, we want to revisit those conversations, and should it not, you know, maybe we reserve the right to look at other opportunities in that area, including that site. So they offered to reschedule their PDC meeting, to which, you know, they were very accommodating, and we did not mean to, you know, throw Parks under the bus or like poo-poo on their project, because their project was fine. But, you know, there's a larger conversation here that needs to be run to ground. So that's why Angel and George and I are meeting tomorrow, but we have a, you know, we're basically reviving this conversation. So our letter from Parks, the first one is a letter to PDC stating acknowledgement of the presentation with disapproval for the project due to a previously community proposed school district sanitation garage, given that the reasons for the denial of that location has been deemed no longer an issue to support the project. So that's where we're at. We'll see how it goes. The second item was the a letter of support for the Harlem Near Boardwalk Shoreline and North End recirculation projects, which was something we had previously supported. It was part of the DEP grant proposal, basically assisting, essentially it's forming a loop between the series of water bodies in Central Park on the north end that is actually all potable water. And I didn't know that, which is a huge waste of water. So it's preventing the loss of literal billions of gallons of potable water, and also assisting with depressurizing the sewer system in our area, which will help when there's large rain events and all that water's trying to go in the sewer system. So we had no problems, as that was some previous position that we had. Any questions, Andrew?
So no question, but like if you're noticing it's highlighted, it's just missing a second in the past. But we'll go to the report.
Okay, thank you so much.
Just so it'll be fixed by Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Where am I going next?
Oh, the human services.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Human
so-
services.
We had, I don't think we had any action items, just, presentations for information's sake. We had a presentation, well, Exodus, they had came to us a few months ago saying that they were going to be moving across the street because of a fire, but wasn't able to make that move across the street, so they came back to just let us know they're staying in place at 2271 Third Ave. The health and hospitals came, public health solutions came with their new menthol initiative, I guess, let me not say I guess, it is to target menthol products being sold. So they're gonna, they wanted a letter of support, but they're gonna come back in September. So that the committee can just look through their requests. We'll workshop with them over the summer, the proper letter of support for the work that they're doing. Especially with respect to the information they're giving out and the higher addiction rates of menthol products and stuff like that. Yeah, so we had a presentation from an intern that worked with the, and Andrew can probably tell you more about what they were doing here, but they I know during their internship, they did complete a project that was very helpful for our committee, where they did some equitable mapping, service mapping of the addiction service treatment centers in East Harlem. So definitely like go back, like check online if you want to just see the slides themselves, or just go back and watch the video if you want to see the presentation. But I think she did a very good job in like just placing, the locations for, so we could see it, versus it always just being spoken about. That also will be something we bring back up during our one-day forum in the fall, because it's just helpful for us to see it. From there, we just had a presentation from the Rehabilitation Center from Health and Hospitals. And then from there, we just went into our old business, which is continuing to review the budget and agenda topics. Another reason that was on the, that we review this every month is because not just the budget items, but our agenda topics. I felt like at the time when I was being harassed, I'll stop. We was being consumed on one issue. and it wasn't really cool because it's a lot of issues in East Harlem that fall under the purview of the Human Services Committee. So a lot of that is like, let's pull out of this one issue and look at a lot of the other issues that we have and want to be talking about from month to month. So that's the other reason for the month, it being on our agenda every month, so we don't get consumed into one issue, even when it's like a hot topic. So that's the report.
Thank you. Asher, youth and education?
Oh, can I?
Sorry, go ahead.
I know it's not usual that I have a question at this point. You said something about the mental, but it's not about that, but it had me thinking, you know, we have a lot of the illegal smoke shops. My committee, you know, didn't get licenses approved, and those licenses are, you know, starting to come out. We know there's still a ton of illegal smoke shops. The sheriff, Carlos had gotten him to come to one of my meetings. I know Governor Hochul's taken a lot of the red tape that was, you know, making it forever for them to close them down. But I thought that maybe like, I can have Carlos reach out again, like maybe we could have a meeting, kind of joint meeting with the sheriff to just kind of figure out what the timeline is, what the process is. My major concerns are just the stuff targeted to kids and all that. And I'm not, you know, people should have access to it, but it should be safe. People should know what they're using, and it should definitely not be targeted. So I figured that might be somewhere where we could work together. I'll see what I can do if you're interested. All right.
Thank you, Dan. That's the best part of this process.
Human Services does have an action item. They're allocating their
We did.
committee funds to the addiction clause.
Sorry, yes,
No
we are giving up the money we got, spending our money before it goes to waste.
Yes, funded.
Yes.
And land uses allocation is going to the forum on the training on Thursday, financing.
Is that, that's not on
It's
here.
all, that's bad. I'm just like, I'm like John Stockton. I'm just throwing out assists all over the place.
What- here,
But luckily, so as we are missing the treasure.
Holiday, no.
Did we go to that last month, or do we need to go?
But this was-
I didn't get you yet.
I can't remember.
Hey,
I think it was like the costuming.
Okay, sorry. The land use allocation of the 500, was that last month that we had voted that in?
Land use did it.
All right.
Executive doesn't need to do it.
Okay, great. I know, but it's not on the agenda for full board, so I have to
It was
make,
new business.
Holiday lights.
from this month?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying it's not on the agenda for full board.
Okay, I don't think they voted on it, but okay. We'll get it.
Okay. All right, Asher?
All right, very eventful meeting for youth and education this month. We had 3 presentations. The first one was by Reading Partners, which is a nonprofit that has been expanding within East Harlem. They're in about 5 of our schools. Rosa could correct me if I'm wrong on any of this information. And they do reading tutoring within the schools. They have group tutoring and also one-on-one online tutoring, and they were looking for volunteers. So yeah, and then the second presentation was from some residents who live across the school. I forgot, it was Urban Assembly. It was, all I know is it's the school on like Madison and 127th Street. And there's been a temporary generator in there, powering the AC in the school for about 1.5 years, 2 years now. And the temporary generator is very loud. The residents showed videos of it. It brings smoke onto the street. They said they've had a hard time communicating with the DOE, with the principal. They came in with signs and all the citations. And so basically what we said we could do with them is connect them to the superintendent for that district. And I told them I will follow up and reach out myself. So I told them that was the best we could do for them. If anyone else has any suggestions, let me know. And then our last presentation was regarding the CEC member in District 2 who has connections to a hate group. And since it was right next door, someone came to present to us to write a letter of a recommendation letter to the chancellor to have the person who was a part of that hate group removed from their CEC because the Manhattan Borough president asked for all community boards within Manhattan to pass something. The main thing was in support of LGBT kids within the public schools. But now that that woman was removed from the board by the chancellor, we're gonna have to, I don't know how we go about this. I just found this out today. We're trying to decide if we're gonna take out the original call for the chancellor to remove the person from that CEC, or if we're gonna keep it as it is, because there was another component of the letter saying that we voice support for LGBT kids within the district. So yeah, that's my update.
Asher, just for the clarity for full board, since we don't, it sounds like there's a little confusion there. Would it be possible to just keep the motion simple for now, like table the part that's contentious and keep it to the supporting of LGBTQ youth for full board since?
Yes, that seems like it will make the most sense because that part isn't relevant anymore. So I present that to full board with a edit?
Yeah, we would be, friendly amendment to the original committee. You can give the backstory and it can be focused on the part that's still relevant, which is the support for LGBTQ.
All right, I will talk to David because I won't be at full board and I'll make sure that gets mentioned.
Thank you, Asher. All right, we have one question.
Yeah, can you explain the support for that population? I didn't understand it.
So she originally and this is just between the emails I had between myself and this woman, she was originally gonna come present as an expert with some of her, she's friends with some community members who their kids are part of that population within this district, and there has been some bullying going on and the superintendent's been aware of it, but these parents felt like nothing has really been done. And it was more the parents want, I'm sorry, I'm a little scattered brain right now. I'm trying to summarize.
Recording. It's all right, I'll do my research, thank you.
Yeah, just look up, it was regarding CEC2 and Moms for Liberty was the main thing.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, one more thing that she brought up is a lot of the kids within East Harlem, just because CEC2 is right next to us, we do have a lot of kids from our district who go to CEC2 schools, which were directly affected by this.
Thank you, Asher. Any other questions?
What's CEC?
Community Education Council.
It's like the DOE's version of us. It's the best way I could describe it. It's parent representatives from schools within the district who are appointed by the chancellor.
Okay, no.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
You can explain it.
No, yeah, it's okay. So we're elected by the parents of this college in District 4. All the parents vote every 2 years for who they want to, which parent wants to represent them in the Community Education Council. In Manhattan, there's 6 districts, District 1, Lower East Side, all the way to Washington Heights, which is District 6, and I think people know it's that. Basically,
Thank you.
All right.
CC4 also, sorry, one last little note as I'm remembering little things. CC4 did vote on a resolution on this a few months ago. We never voted on it. So we just came up with our own vote and we referenced the CC4 resolution in it.
All right, thank you. Next we have land use. Jason?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we had an interesting meeting as well. We had a presentation from the Historic Districts Council on Preservation 101. We had an informational presentation on Las Palasas development. They provided an update. We advised them to go to economic development as there were some concerns with jobs and minority. It always comes up in land use, but we told them to reach out to you guys. And of course, I'm gonna get to city of yes, I know it's in my heads. And then we have the transit easement that was reviewed and accepted as submitted. And then before city of yes, we also took a vote for, to allocate our funds to the event, with HPD. So now we did the city of yes this year, or this month, as you've seen, it was sent. You got like revision 3 in front of you. I promise you, this isn't the final draft. We vetted it since then. We got rid of the requested modification. The long and the short of it, out of the 15 proposals, 13 were accepted as submitted. Those 2 that we were not in support of, but given, in respect to democracy, since we voted in support for majority of the proposals, overall, we approved the application with conditions. Unfortunately, so we got that part done, right? Here's where I need you all. We did great with approving. We did great with each individual vote. There was contention towards the end of the meeting with adding conditions, right? Which is typical, with our community members. We love to voice our opinion. Keyword I just used there was opinion. Unfortunately, if we can't support it or define it with facts, that tends to be the challenge, which was some of the concerns. A lot of the concerns that were brought up were related to, housing advocacy, rent regulation, which, we tried our best to tackle. But unfortunately, I have a whole bunch of letters from housing organizers that are in support of the project, right? So, despite popular belief. So the long and the short of it, I rewrote the 3 conditions before I came to the meeting. I'll read it out. I don't think I necessarily need to vote for it. But it didn't get finalized at land use, so, again, it's up to the chair, and if you think it's required, I think that I can present it, as is to full board, and the full board can still make their position, right? Because we supported the conditions. The conditions was, item number 1 was public input. Any proposal that removes or does not include public input, the community board, city council review through the zoning text amendments should be adjusted to re-include such input. Forgive the language and grammar, we'll fix that stuff up, right? Not to be redundant, but basically that item, if you went through the city of yes proposal, some of the biggest concerns with them removing the year look process, and not necessarily for new applications, but if they wanted to do some modifications, they wanted to be able to go through the CPC. It was brought to our attention from my land use consultant, the concern of us of just public input being removed, right, through the process. So these three sentiments are supposed to be able to overall capture the, again, emotional opinions of members that are concerned that didn't provide us, with an MLA formatted condition. So the second item, which is the UAP, pretty much there's been a constant back and forth of concern about affordability, that basically because the zoning laws are going to change, it's going to give this carte blanche order to developers to build as of right and market rate. That's not the case. If you read the zoning text, you'll see that they're highly incentivizing that not just for this district or for MIH, but the entire city, look for forms of affordability. So we asked pretty much to provide a requirement towards mandatory affordability in lieu of or along with, again, we gotta change some of that terms right there, because the UAP is an option. And as the developer goes to build, they have to put in for that option to get that credit that then will provide some affordable housing, right? So of course, members were concerned that if it wasn't mandatory, then affordable housing wouldn't be built. We heard today from the housing chair, that's not the case, right? There's other laws that affect rent regulations, not zoning law. CBA, this one was another contentious, we kind of left it as is, but basically the intent was righteous, where the member proposed a community benefits agreement that tied into the public input process, that if you're getting rid of ULUP and you're getting rid of public input, then there's a possible opportunity, again, it's filed a request, that the city provides some type of form for community benefits agreement between said developer And, you know, that particular community district. It's not just our district, but it's all districts in the 5 boroughs. And here we go, when using the UAP incentive, have developers create a community benefits agreement with the local district that they are developing within as deemed fit for housing and or job development opportunities in order for the district to properly comment on projects that may not be as of right, but do not go through the ULUP process anymore, given the zoning text amendment. That's,
If I could just ask a question, I noted in my text to you when we talked
you
about this.
said it, you said the UAP is already affordable but optional, you can't force people to use it, but we can require affordability, I don't disagree with you, this
Yeah.
was the position of the committee that day.
Well, because when we were in committee and we were writing the items along with the requested modification side, the only thing that was written for that specific UAP was, the community benefits thing that was on there from Jessica Morris, and then also that sort of same sentence that was, you know, anything about mandatory, or sorry, anything that creates new housing should have some sort of affordability component, which applied to the transit, or sorry, the campus infill, and the landmark transferable rights. I think.
You're 100% correct, but it goes back to when you opened it and then, which you guys were graceful enough to see, other members went in and they just started adding items that showed and expressed interest in there being a mandatory option, right? The UAP is, and this sounds carte blanche because we are in a capitalist-free nation, so you don't want to mandate, you know, government regulations onto the private ventures, but again, there's a dire concern with the rent regulations, so that's, I didn't, for lack of a better word, strike it as a concept to be in conversation, but I do agree with you where number 2 and 3 can just be combined, can we make that separate?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, so I guess just for me, that, maybe it's like, we keep 2 because it was the sentiment of the committee, but I think there should be a 4th one that mentions that any new housing created under, you know, the various components, whether it's, you know, landmark transfer, development rights or whatever, that there be some minimum affordability component as like the 4th one, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, I personally think that point 2 just doesn't make any sense,
Yep.
because the UAP is an only optional thing. It's, you already have your max FAR, and if you want to choose to build 20% more FAR, it has to be affordable. But nobody's gonna say that, oh, every single building has to go ahead and add 20% at FAR, and it be, you know, because that's not a real
It's illogical.
thing, yeah.
I don't disagree, we had that conversation at committee, the housing advocates at committee were emphatic about it, so. I don't disagree though, I have no issue striking it completely, I don't think that any item without tangible fact and a reason, and that could be supported, should just be placed in the resolution. Honestly, if it was Jason, all 3 items would be removed. So it's up to the board, right? This was to address concern with housing advocates, not necessarily from a zoning technical standpoint.
So I guess my fear is that we're gonna get to full board and everyone's gonna be upset because either their comment is not how they wrote it or is no longer in there. And I'm worried about the contention, so,
But in defense of process, they were not prepared at committee.
okay,
And we gave them an extension till Friday of last week, which I said as a drop dead date. They missed it, and we even extended them to today. I then sent messages to all the members notifying them that I would be presenting this today. You were the only one who responded.
okay.
So I'm open to, again, I wanted to bring it to the chairs because I do know this is gonna be a hot topic on Tuesday, but I don't want to spend so much time on the housing advocacy debates as opposed to what the text is about, which is to create more opportunities for developers to build housing in the shortage.
Okay, so if, maybe what we do is we keep the three items as you've described them, we add a fourth, which adds the actual affordability comments that I think we had about the specific elements that we've discussed.
That's what I'm telling you, you can strike that UAP.
I know, but I don't know, I feel like, do you think it would be better to strike it now and
I
face
know.
the board?
Yeah, that's why I said we don't need to do a vote either.
Yeah,
I know what was done, because I went in there and I deleted it.
yeah,
And if you read any of these items, right, well, Angel was sweet, he printed what I fixed, which was my first draft. But if you go to the original document, which is beautiful about this form, I'm not savvy, but I was able to see every comment that was ever written on this, right? And needless to say, the broken sentences, the open-ended, non-factual, contentious, and, you know, all these pretty words for us looking like morons was in here, and I deleted it because we didn't have a proper condition to direct the city of New York on how to satisfy our concern, which again, isn't towards zoning, it's towards housing affordability, which is completely different. It's under a different purview in my opinion.
all right, I mean, I think we should, I mean, I don't know that anyone on this committee has taken the time to like take a look at the city of Yes, but in my perfect world, we would agree to the 3 or 4 conditions here as a unified front, knowing what occurred at land use and then ratify it at full board. But I just don't want to go through that process at full board. It would be an absolute nightmare.
No, I think that we will present it as stated, we are in support for the application, these are the 3 conditions. No one, we didn't leave there, right, with a firm position, so if somebody wants to make a position, it's up to chair to run the meeting and advise that person. You've had more than enough time, more than enough opportunity to opine. So unless you're gonna give it to us in black and white to take it on the floor now, and that's with these, forget these conditions, we're gonna have contention, period, from a housing advocacy standpoint on this. And when people start looking towards, they're not gonna look at land use, they're gonna look at housing for some sense of, you know, that they feel comfortable, right? That, I'm not dealing with emotion. I'm gonna deal with it based on logic, reason, and process. We've given them 60 days to review, we gave them 2 weeks to, Angel was kind enough to do a survey. We went above and beyond, right? And if we were against it, honestly, I'd probably be in your position. But because of my experience on this board and knowing what we've done, we're in support. It's really hard to get into the weeds about conditions on, you know, an application that we're in support.
Yeah.
So,
So, you know,
and the conditions as is to me, like I stated to you, begin with, this is SDN, I was strapping.
Angel, just because this is gonna be my first time running a full board meeting and I'm terrified.
You got us.
Thank you. I would suggest that we keep the legitimate points here. And I can read the first one, the public input, any proposal that removes or does not include public input, CB or city council review through the zoning text amendment should be adjusted to re-include such input. And that any creation of new affordable new housing should have a minimum affordability component. Those were the 2 main points that I heard that made sense. If we could use those 2 points as our only
I don't
resolution.
disagree with you because we didn't get anything to date on the
Right.
CBA statement.
Yeah.
And the UAP, we didn't receive anything as well. We received broken fragmented sentences.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we're going above and beyond, because the board as a whole, so it doesn't just fall on the committee, there's been no action.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a friendly amendment. If it's, oh, wow,
We never voted on the condition,
right,
so to me, I don't.
okay, so can we vote?
Let's state it, and then we'll figure out the procedure.
Okay, I would like to make a friendly amendment that the conditions as on this paper and via God, I'm sorry.
Keep breath, keep breath.
All right. I would like to make a friendly amendment that we maintain support, overall support as discussed in land use with the updated conditions that one, any proposal that removes or does not include public input, community board review and or city council review through the zoning text amendment should be adjusted to re-include such input. And two, any provision or creation of new housing should include mandatory affordability metrics.
And what about this third thing? No,
Third things
scrap,
doesn't make sense.
so take it off. Yes, we'll take it off.
Is my amendment accepted?
Like I said to you, Jill, you've been ahead. To me, I wouldn't have did the conditions
Yeah.
outside of me being diplomatic and democratic to the membership that failed to submit their condition.
April.
Alright, so just to tighten up the record, I would say, so not friendly amendment, but vote on a motion to amend the recommendation from the Land Use Committee, as you just stated.
Okay,
And then that way, then I have coverage to present this to full board as a recommendation.
okay, a vote on the motion to amend. Okay, that'll happen. Amend per what I just said, I can repeat it.
Oh, Chair, so we gotta vote.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to accept the friendly amendment, stated by Jessica Elliott, to the city of yes, as stated.
Second.
Cutting the line.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you all.
That was easier than mine, as a promise. We sat for 40 minutes with no condition.
All right, the last couple committees here, Jose.
Jose, oh, sorry.
What are you doing?
He's
Uh,
like,
Yeah. Con Edison is going to pass a new electrical line. Includes fiber underneath the Harlem River. We approved it. It still helps to structure what's going to be built in that area in the future. Around the Crackers Whack and all the new buildings coming in the future. It will not disturb the Crackers Whack Park playground whatsoever. It is 60 or 80 feet under. So nothing will happen to the park. Everything is happening well in the cavern of New York City. And then we denied a street naming, which we had some tension with, absolutely my fault in the sense that there is, a few years back, and we have to address that, and I'll address it with Angel and Khalid now in the summer, changing our street naming procedures because city council a few years back pushed back as to, like, there's a lot of great people in this community, but there should be definitely community contribution piece on this position. It was a gentleman's mother who passed away and sounds like a lovely woman, but other than being like a lovely person, a lovely neighbor. And the city council definitely pushed back a few times, and we've been, due to that pushing back, some kind of slipped. I think for future purposes, we're going to really go through them heavily prior to them to go into committee. It's very difficult once you're in committee. You're hearing this people's story, you're hearing the passion that comes. And obviously, this individual and his brothers lost their mother and want to honor them, but be perfectly fair at the same time. From the city council's perspective, which is what we're following, you can't, like, if we're putting street cones for everything, we wouldn't have signs, everything would be full without, because, you could donate more than one. People may not know that, but you can put multiple names on one street. It's done on 116 because we have the P and there we have Edwin there and Marcial's there. So that's for future reviews. Angel brought up 128th Street. That's kind of an extra credit. I made a big scandal on that 128th Street, that project that DOT is coming. They kind of bulldozed us through, and we're talking about procedure. But basically, they just like no lube and where that goes. I brought this up, I made a scandal, I went to the council person's office, she engaged, and last I heard, it's going through exactly how they proposed it. This city is definitely heading in a pedestrian only alternative. What they're going to do is going to cause massive, what's already a massive traffic jam there, it will be even more. And this community will suffer from it. And it's unfortunate that DOT in the city could care of this. You know, so I just wanna bring that up because it is.
Sounds like a campaign.
It's a little hyperbolic.
Oh, it's terrible. Yes, I'll bring it up. I should bring it up in full board.
It's the same way.
Bring it up after we adjourn. Yes, so like to Lee's point about that street co-naming thing, it has been quite contentious over the months, and not just at committee, but also in the office. So the applicant was, you know, as Jose was saying, is very, very motivated. And also got a bit ahead of his skis, you know, because of that motivation. And then when things didn't go the way that he had hoped, was, you know, lobbing accusations about our process being, you know, messed up or whatever. Well, it's not the case, and this is gonna seem kind of boring and trite, but it's just a fact, like, we don't issue anything. I mean, we don't grant permits, give licenses, you know, right, like, we give recommendations. And unfortunately, there's, you know, folks that don't know or aren't bothering to know or aren't listening when it's explained, which is a lot of times the case. End up thinking, oh, we're denying them something. Like, we're not denying you anything. In this instance, the city council approves those. So like, there's some, like, you can make a request directly to the council member.
So
It's bad form. It's bad form to go directly to the council member, for the council member to entertain it. That's not advisable. It should be, you know, consulting or at least asking the community board where it lands and see, you know, like, hey, can you guys do a letter, or would you guys consider a letter? I think that's the more appropriate way to do it. But the fact is the council issues these things, and this particular person, and this has happened before, but it's just something to be mindful of, is that I think we need to be clear with applicants when they come before us, even before we entertain their proposal, that we will give you what we're doing is considering giving you a letter of support, right? Whether you get a liquor license or a street activity permit or a street co-naming, that's on you. Like, we had some guy call today, losing his mind. Right, and then calling all these silly people in the neighborhood to act as his advocate, you know, like, I'll tell Angel so-and-so. I'm like, I'm like, good luck with that. You're lucky Khalid answers his phones. And it's over a street activity thing, like, it's already on the agenda. He already did it. I'm like, what are you getting so worked up about? You know, but it's not us. Turns out, now shut up in a second. Turns out this cat applied June 1st. Marlene rushes it through, makes sure then sees it, committee does their thing, it's on the agenda, we did everything, and we should have just told you to kick rocks for not giving us enough time, right? But they're under the impression that, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna jump through hoops and we're doing this, I'm using old references. I don't know if you all know what kick rocks is.
Yeah.
So, that's right. So anyway, so yeah, so like,
He's not even that old.
I think I'm quite old, so, you know, telling people that, you know, like, so that they have a clearer understanding in our end. You know, we get called all the time, you guys denied this, you guys denied that, I'm like, nope, we just didn't support it. Anyway, that's all. No, that this other gentleman, it's been weeks, he's been screaming at the Port Philippe, but entertaining it too,
He's been calling too, and
everywhere.
I mean, look, sometimes you gotta be, not the bad guy, but it's just follow procedure. That's all it is.
Regulations.
I was gonna say that.
And then, I'm sorry,
That process, black and white, like, you can't just, here's a link as to why we can't do it.
the street co-naming thing, in fairness,
Yeah.
isn't so black and white, it's subjective, and now that's where it's tough.
Like, where's the community, like,
Yeah.
how do you define, but,
Value and.
so then they're like,
impact.
oh, you only give it to famous people, which kinda happens.
Nothing wrong.
But
All right, hold on. So I think like that brings up a larger thing that I've seen generally is that people don't understand what the board is and does. And like, for example, when we went on the parks, the community gardens tours, one of the gardeners said, you know, like made an illusion that we get paid to do the work that we do. So I think there's a continuous campaign that we have to run to inform board members, like we are volunteers, we are advisory, we are doing the best we can, our staff is doing the best we can. Like, please don't come at us. So I don't know.
we should get our invoices.
Yeah, and
Conversation for another time.
Yeah, can we get off the
Yeah.
recording?
Yeah.
Oh,
The last two meetings, Anne Marie.
Yes. Okay, for our small business spotlight, we had Sapoara Restaurant present, and Giselle Malave, who was the chair.
that's cheating, Henry.
Interesting choice.
So she presented on her restaurants, her first restaurant. She also now has a second restaurant in the Bronx. Her hours of operation are 2 p.m. to 12 during the week, and on weekends it's until 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. A little before, depending, you know, how business is going. She serves Spanish American food. She does catering services as well for any type of event. They host weekly events such as karaoke, live DJ, and Sapoara. The name came from a fish that comes from South America, I believe. She's very involved they're very involved in the community. They do toy drives, they've done giveaways. They will also have fed families and Thanksgiving. So that's one of the best part of that restaurant. They also give back to the community. She's not able to apply for outdoor dining because her location is in front of a bus stop and because of the ramps. For the disabled, they're not able to have an outdoor dining, but she does have a patio. She's also have been supported by Union Settlement and Borinquen Neighborhood Health Center that have worked with her in collaboration to have her cater their events. What else? Okay, for informational presentation, we had High Arts. High Arts is an organization that is located in the Art Space Building, PS 109. They are run independently and they have community engagement programming that serves Black and Brown artists through their artist residencies. What they do is they provide a free space for the artists, financial support, and mentorship. They also have youth development initiatives going on, which is called Journey to Journey. They do public programming through community engagement. And they have creative education for local youth through varying artistic mediums. I believe they work with Mosaic Prep Academy and Creative Minds and CASA. They have been working on some murals in the community. I believe they are working on a mural with, what is that park? Cherry Park? Cherry Tree Park. Yes, thank you, Cherry Tree Park in Washington, by the Washington Project. And lastly, they have a program where they select 5 to 6 artists, and one artist for a whole month have the space for free. They provide them a budget and mentorship and tech support, and then the artist would then showcase to other artists and the community. And the other organization that presented was the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, and they came to talk about their Manhattan Arts Grant Cycle for 2025. They have an annual award of $1 million for Manhattan-based artists. UMass alone range from 1K to 5, and their award allocations are 4K, 8K, 12K, and 16K, depending on the project scope. The 3 grants are the Creative Engagement Support Arts Programming of any discipline. The second one is Creative Learning Support Arts Education and Participatory Projects in any discipline for older adults. And then they have the UMass Art Engagement Support Arts, that support art programming of any discipline. And that's more for the Upper Manhattan. That'll be the East Harlem and Harlem section. They're gonna have a summer 2024 info session coming up at El Barrio Art Space at PS 109, and we asked them for data. We wanna know how the funding was allocated for the East Harlem artists, how many applied, how many got selected, how much money was given to the East Harlem artists that, live in East Harlem. And, yeah.
Do you mind, just, I think, no worries, I think, for the, just like, next time that we do this, in the next cycle, like, we don't have to go over every single item, and I think like, just the highlights.
Yeah, that's the highlight.
Okay.
That's it.
It felt like I'm done.
I was with us.
That was it. That was the last part.
Okay, great, well, thank you, are there any questions for either of them? Thank you. All right, obviously, executive, items are the ones that we discussed tonight. The last thing before we leave, just a quick update on attendance, and I'll pass it over to you, but just, it looks like from my quick review of this, that there are a handful of people who we've called previously for attendance who have increased their lacking attendance. And there are, it looks like Stephanie Arroyo and Jason Wu have entered the pool of too many meetings missed. But just so that you all know, this year was kind of like setting the stage for the fact that we're gonna make this a huge thing next year. So we're not gonna be letting go of this. We're gonna review it on a monthly basis. And if people hit the minimum, we're immediately calling them forward and we're gonna go through this process. Okay, Isaac and then Adam, and then I'll pass it to Rosa.
I would just like to ask the maker of this list, how come I don't have a number by my name?
I rushed, I apologize. 238 though.
Am I really?
Are you?
Oh, no. Right,
Russell Schuler, 38.
right, right.
You're 37.5.
Right.
Adam?
Is attendance now reset in September?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
Everybody starts with 0.
right, probably by February we'll have problems.
I mean, at
November.
least we made it to February, but I mean, we're gonna call those problems
No, it's
forward.
good, yeah, but you know, it's actually even better that everyone gets a clean slate, we've
Yeah.
been saying all this, and now we can really see a listen.
Yeah, Jose?
I'd like to pretend my 3 absences as executive, and I like a forensic.
Yeah, go on YouTube and watch the
Audit.
videos.
All right.
And
Yeah.
You do it yourself.
All right,
And-
I'm gonna pass it to Rosa, who put this together. Is there anything you wanna summarize here?
No, just.
That's my missing
So
number.
person, you know what I mean? Like I spend a lot of time for those little flyers, and you all get it.
We love them.
thank
You're
you.
doing a great
Thank
job.
you.
Yes, great job. Okay, you did.
So much better than
And
Jose.
you know.
Not better than me. I did the,
They have a different approach.
I did the,
So much better.
I did
Spelling's
the,
better, grammar's better, attitude is better.
oh, no, definitely the grammar's better. My grammar's better.
Just for the record, the people we called forward who continue to miss absences or get absences is Carlos Diaz missed 2 additional meetings. Sage Mason missed 1 additional meeting, Jessica Morris, missed 1 additional meeting, Claudia Perez missed 2 additional meetings. Loretta So missed 1 additional meeting, Vinnie Torres missed 2 additional meetings. Jason, it says you missed 1 additional meeting, I'm not sure if that's true. Candy missed 1.
It's a fact.
Candy missed 1 additional meeting, so that's, we can double check this and confirm. Yeah, and then we'll revisit this topic on full board and it'll be an active item every month next year. Any other new business, any old business? Roll call.
Jose Altamirano,
Present.
Stephanie Arroyo, Adam Brija, Jessica Elliott, Asher Rodriguez, John Green, Rosa Rama, Deborah Santiago, Isaac Scott, Anne Marie Vasquez, Jason Villanueva, Rosa Diaz.
And the lead.
We should.
Have a good night,
Go with
everybody.
the, full board,
Wednesday, he said he was gonna attend, but then I reached out to Marlene.
And I will double check.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so I'll make sure that we.